3, 2, 1. Hey everyone, Phil from 3DP UK Tech Channel here. Today we're delving deep into the Creality K1 Max. This printer is pretty much ready out of the box, and with its Cube 300 build volume, the K1 Max open more possibilities for printing. This I'll show on a little bit later on in this video. The K1 series probably more suitable for individuals that want to show their ideas, but there's also the opportunity to delve deep into the hardware and software. There's the AI driven capabilities which helps with the speeds, and the K1 definitely stands out for that. Various models I test throughout this video demonstrates the K1's capabilities. The printer's LiDAR sensor increases the quality throughout the printing process and assists the machine's capacity to tackle complex geometric shapes and finer details, as seen in this video. To monitor and manage prints remotely is made possible by Creality Print, which guarantees flawless connection using Wi-Fi connection, USB and Ethernet. These are all options when slicing files, and you can use Cura and Orca and other reputable brands. Remove the machine's lid and open the door. Materials like PLA require an open environment, and it's also worth noting that Creality aim for a higher quality feel across the entire machine, using glass and custom structure, and it's replacing the stock extruded aluminium tubing and perspex for the top and sides. The design in my eyes is really exceptional. The machine's front panel features a huge 4.3-inch colour touchscreen interface, and the interface allows for simple navigation and control over models directly loaded from USB and the printing process. Along with the LCD, there is a direct Wi-Fi operation via the Creality Print app, which is available for most operating systems. And the other thing that is to note is that you can root these machines now that Creality have unlocked it, and so that if you wanted to make some custom firmwares, you can do so as well, following this procedure. Another feature I've noticed on most modern resin printers is the inclusion of an air purifier system. This is fantastic to see that now that they are starting to put these on FDM machines. There is also the option of attaching an extractor at the back of this machine, which is handy when printing things like ABS, which emit strong fumes. Build volume of this printer is 300 square, and this is pretty normal for a size and price of this printer, and the dual gear direct extruder serves for this purpose. This allows for constant filament input and expands the range of materials you can utilize, including flexibility. The hot end features a 0.4 nozzle, but can also be swapped between 0.6 and 0.8 with this quick swap nozzle. So let's take a look at the specifications of the K1 Max. With printing speeds of 600 mms and accelerations of 20,000 mms, the print times will be improved massively. However, speed over quality is always going to be an issue. As said before, it's a 300 cube build volume and allows for prints such as cosplay helmets, which has always been an issue with the smaller K1 brother. The AI assisted printing with LiDAR and built-in camera allows for improved quality and constant printing monitoring. The K1 Max comes pretty much assembled from the box with just a few screws, a door handle and some various packing materials to remove, which means you're ready to print in little to no time. The enclosure allows for high temperature printing capabilities. Now let's head over to the unboxing experience, but before we do that, let's take a quick moment to subscribe to my channel and even throw in a thumbs up. And now a quick word from today's video sponsor, pcbway.com. Okay, a quick word from today's video sponsor, pcbway.com. As you can see from the website, it's really easy to use. They have an instant quote system. They do PC board prototyping, PCB assembly, rigid flex. They also do 3D printing services and CNC services. So if you click on each of those different sections, they will take you into like a quote system where you can select exactly your requirements. They deliver worldwide and they have instant payments. They're well respected within the prototyping community. pcbway.com, today's video sponsor. Okay, so let's get on with the unboxing of the K1 Max. As you can see, it's come in a pretty sturdy box, clearly labelled, and it has the label with fragile, which obviously has glass in here, which is good to see. So upon opening the box, you're always welcomed with the obligatory stickers that are supplied with pretty much all Creality printers. I don't know if anyone's actually uses those. I tend to just pile them up. I've got quite a few. So you got the service card. Hopefully you shouldn't need that straight away. You also have the Creality guarantee. And then you have the glossy manual, which is the instruction manual. Now it is multiple languages, and because of the fact that it's so easy to set up, there is only actually a few pages that you're required to follow. There's also QR codes for apps. So let's remove the top layer. And then you have the cardboard sort of segregating just to stop the corners getting damaged in transit. So there's plenty of packaging, which is always really great to see. Okay, so what we want to do is take out the lid. So this is actually the top part. Take great care with that, because obviously if you drop it straight away, it's going to be pretty useless. Like I said earlier, it is a glass lid. And then we're going to be taking off the next layer of foam and putting that to one side. And then we're greeted with the actual machine itself. Most of the contents is within the housing of that, so just open up the bag and take things out as we go along. Out of the box is the 4.3-inch colour touchscreen. Now this is pretty standard across the K1 series and now on the Ender 3v3 series, and it has the ribbon connection. So let's put that to one side and just go into the contents to see what else. So we have the UK plug for myself, and then it'd be different for whatever country you're in. And then just take out some of this foam packaging. It's good to see that they've used plenty of packaging. This just protects the actual machine itself in transit. And the next thing out of the box is the main packaging for all of the, I believe, the spool that they give you, and it's going to be 1 kilo, which is always good to see, especially with high speed printers. So let's just take a quick look into that itself. So it's just got the slide out box, and then inside you have a tools box. So let's go through some of the contents with that. So the first thing out of it is some grease. So you'll need to use that for any maintenance work you do, so metal grease. And the next thing out of the box is the glue stick. Now quite a lot of people in the community don't end up using that. I don't. I use 3D lac. And then you have the nozzle cleaner, so hopefully you shouldn't have to use that too often. The next thing out of the box is a metal scraper and some clippers. So I've probably got hundreds of those now, and a spanner, and then obviously various Allen keys and a screwdriver. Okay, so we're at the bottom half of that pack, and the next thing out of the box is a spare nozzle. Now this is just a 0.4 as usual. Would have been nice to see a different size, and this is one of the quick swap nozzles. So this should make the actual swap over process so much easier, but it would have been nice to have a 0.6 or a 0.2 added. I just think having a spare likewise nozzle is pretty pointless sometimes. So the next thing out of the box is the rear spool holder. Now this spool holder fits on the back, and I'm not too keen on that, so I'm going to print a new attachment that will go from the side. The next thing out is the door handle for the front, so you'll have to connect that up, and noticing from the instruction manual it doesn't actually show you how to do that. Next thing out is the rubber feet. These fit underneath the actual printer, and this helps with some of the vibration, but it also helps with grip as well. And then finally out of here, as I said earlier, you receive a 1 kilo Hyper Series white filament. Now some of the testing can't really be done with white filament, and I think that kind of ruins it. But you know, 1 kilo is really good for a Hyper Series. Okay, so the next thing we need to do is just remove the packaging from the outside. With this packaging, you actually use that to take it out of the box. Just take care with that, because obviously there are some fragile parts and you don't want to drop the machine on its self and damage it straight away. So just tilt the machine backwards and forwards just to slowly remove the bag, and after a bit of tugging you should be able to remove that completely away. So what we want to do now is just remove all the outside stickers. On the front, you'll notice that that's where the screen goes and the actual ribbon is there. So take care with that, it can be damaged. And inside there's a lot more foam packaging. Some of it you're probably going to need to try and access it from underneath. So just remove that, put it to one side. And then looking at the actual machine itself, you'll notice there's lots of like covering on the perspex and on the actual glass window. So, and then like I say, it gives you instructions on how to remove the 3 bolts. Now this is very, very important when doing this. So we're going to go through that step now. So opening up the door, you'll notice inside the actual machine, there's 3 arrows in each corner. So the first thing we'll do is we'll take out the build plate. I am going to change this over to a PEI textured build plate. I just prefer to use them. I always find that using glue sticks on build plates is fine and not an issue to some people, but as a matter of preference, I prefer to use PEI and 3D lac as a spray for adhesion. So inside the machine itself, as we can see, you have 3 arrows clearly marked, 2 at the front and 1 at the back. Now we need to undo those before you turn on the machine and go through any of the pre-startup calibration process. The Allen key inside will remove those. So slowly remove them. They're quite long bolts. You won't need them for anything else in this process. So I tend to keep things like that just in case for any reason. You know, it's better to keep the actual bolts. If you was to move studios or if you was to move a property, you could use those again and reset it, and that just helps with stopping the damage of the actual machine. So once you've removed those 3 bolts, we can go on to the next step. Okay, so connecting up the screen, you'll notice there's a little push connection and the ribbon is taped down, so just carefully take that off and that reveals the ribbon. So the ribbon is just a push fit, so much like the K1 and the Ender 3 V3 series, you use the same and it just connects up to the front. So carefully pushing that in and then pushing that into the housing, and that just pushes down, and that's pretty much it. Make sure it's completely down, otherwise the door won't open and shut, especially if you had it closed. So just make sure that engages and it clicks. So once again, the actual screen itself just gives a pre-warning on the sticker about removing the 3 bolts, which we've done, so there's no issues with that. The next thing is the door handle, which doesn't have any instructions for it, so that's not good. The rear of the machine, you just want to take off this pull tab, and this just covers over the carbon filter. So that's at the rear of the machine, and that just helps with any unsavory smells and odors that come from the back. So at the back of the machine, it gives a clear diagram on what way the filament should be fed into the runout sensor. Has an Ethernet connection, and also over to the other side some information and the power connection and the on and off switch. Also at the back is where the filament actually houses, but like I said earlier, we're not going to do that. We're going to go in from the side, but for display purposes, this is how it attaches. For me, it's too far out of the way. So when connecting up the filament, you want to push it through the Bowden tube like so, and feed it all the way throughout the actual filament sensor and all the way out through to the actual filling head, which is all the way inside the machine. The best practice for that is to actually disengage the Bowden tube and push the filament all the way through, which I'll display a bit later on in the video. Okay, so the K1 Max has the direct extruder, much like the K1, and on the top you'll notice an on and off switch, and this is where the filament goes through. The best practice is to actually remove the Bowden tube from that, and just by simply push fitting, and it pushes out. We can go into a bit more detail a bit later about how to actually feed this practice for feeding the filament in. You'll notice on the latch it's gone open and lock. So open is to push the filament in, and then locks it in place in the extruder. And this is the back of the actual printing head. Once again, it has the actual model dryer on the side, much like the K1 and the K1C and K1E that's coming out. Now to connect up the legs at the bottom. So this is just simply to help with vibration. So you have 4 of those, just make sure those are all connected. We're going to undo this tab that we've seen in the corner just to remove that. I'm going to remove the sticker from the screen, so we don't need that anymore. It's giving the warning sign, so just want to double check with that. You also have some tape covering over this. I believe in transit sometimes this actually pops off because it only pushes on, so that's good to see. It's all connected. You also have a sticky over the camera, so make sure to take that off because it does distort the image. And then at the back you will notice some more foam. Now once again, that's the arrows you can see there. You should have already unscrewed that, and do not continue if you haven't. And then at the back you have the air extraction, and then the larger motors for the X and the Y. These larger motors help with keeping the temperature down, which is always good to see. And then you have the LiDAR sensor, which is only featured on the K1 Max. As you can see, this will read out any indiscrepancies on the bed, and it will give a notification of that. You have the new hot end, so as I showed that earlier, and then obviously the direct extruder at the top, which we will go on. And then you have some information, a QR code on the side, which does obviously for the LiDAR, and then it gives some temperature and speeds for various different filaments, so that's always good to see. What we're going to do now is just go over the screen installation. So it once again, it gives a notification about the 3 bolts and talks about any debris that might be left within there, so any more foam. Next stop will be just giving you a privacy policy. Just tick that and accept that, and then set up your network. You can skip that if you don't want to do that, but we're just going to quickly add our details in, and then it will ask for a time zone. Okay, once we've done the time zone, we're going to do the Creality Cloud binding, so just do that, and then it's going to perform a self-check which takes 11 minutes. Performs various self-checks such as nozzle heating, hotbed, heat break fan and mainboard fan, and then it will do the input shaping and auto leveling. So as you can see, once it starts to kick in, you'll notice that it's vibrating, and it'll the resonance check and stuff like that. So just allow it to do that, don't move it, and make sure that wherever you do this test is where it's going to stay. Okay, so the resonance check has been completed and input shaping. It's now going to do the auto leveling. Now it's going to do auto bed leveling, so it's going to do a mesh throughout the whole of the bed. This takes about 5 minutes, so we're just going to let that do whatever it needs to do, and we'll come back to it. Okay, so that's everything completed. So the next thing is coming up with a new version update, which now means that we have to do the update and then redo the calibration again, which is really quite frustrating sometimes. Okay, so now everything has been calibrated, and we've obviously fed the filament through the extruder, and that's quite an easy thing. We're going to do some prints now. So as you can see, I'm going to do some various models, so masks, just challenging some of the printer's capabilities, and also using the Creality Print 5.1, which is the new version of the slicer. See that I'm using a different build plate than the one that was supplied with the actual printer itself. I'm using a textured PEI plate. I just prefer them. It means that you just give it a quick spray with 3D lac, and none of the glue situation, and you let the model cool down and it pops off instantly. So here you can see me printing the mascot for Creality. I'm not that great at slicing a lot of the time, so if anyone thinks that I've overdone the supports, I'm happy for you to put in the comment section about that. I'm pretty aware that I'm not that great at that sort of thing. But yeah, overall the print quality, the actual setup was really easy. So I'm just going to let a few time lapse go through now, listen to the music, and then do a final recap at the end of the video.
Yeah, I'm in the zone, time to showcase the tech. 3D printer spinning, yeah, I'm cashing the check. From the nozzle to the bed, I'm dissecting the grind. Laser beams cutting through ahead of the blind. Stay tuned, I'm breaking it down, click and subscribe. 3D UK, where the vision's in play. From the printer to the beam, I'm leading the way. Watch me as I review, giving thoughts that are wrong. In this tech game, I'm beating every flaw. Now filament flowing, layer by layer we rise. I dissect the specs and check magic with my eyes. Engage as I craft, yeah, build like a king. With lasers precise, hear the sound of me sing. Tune in for the truth, watch the brilliance unfold.
Okay, so that's the Creality K1 Max review. As you can see from some of the models that I printed, it's capable of doing various different types of printing. As I said before, it's a 300 square build volume. So it offers 25% more volume than the average printer size. With the AI assisted camera and the LiDAR system that helps with the adhesion and print quality. As I said before, I changed over the textured build plate. It obviously has failure detection with that camera. The easy to use touchscreen and the fact that it's so familiar now going across the K1 series and on the end of E3 series. You have the obviously real-time monitoring using their app. The quick change nozzle as well. So it obviously helps with that. So you could change over to different sizes like 0.2, 0.6, 0.8. The dual hands-free auto leveling, so it has the strain sensors in the heat bed, which generates mesh leveling for auto compensation, and it's obviously got the motion advance. You can do a self-test at one tap, and it goes through each of those steps really easily. Yeah, so overall the print quality on this was amazing. The build was easy to do. I really enjoyed testing out the Creality K1 Max, and with having the K1 and the end of the 3 Plus, they're very much alike in the build quality and the ease of use. Okay, so that's the end of this video, and this is the Creality K1 Max, which was kindly sent over by Creality for me to review today. Everything I've said in this video is my thoughts only. I wasn't paid to do this review, but obviously for disclosure purposes, I have been sent this unit to review. Free to check out my channel. I have the video of the K1 and the end of 3 V3 Plus. And I also have a written review on 3D with Us, so check them out online. So I am 3DP UK Tech Channel. Thank you to PCBway for sponsoring this video and to Creality for sending me the Unit 2 review. Don't forget to like and subscribe, as I said early on in the video. Whack a like on their video, and why don't you tap that notification bell, because obviously then you'll be updated for when I'm adding some new videos, and I have got quite a few coming up very soon. Take care everyone. That's Phil from 3DP UK Tech Channel, and we'll see you all soon.
Yeah, I'm in the zone, time to show keys attack. 3D printer spinning, yeah, I'm cashing the check. From the nozzle to the bed, I'm dissecting the grind. Laser beams cutting through ahead of the blind. Stay tuned, I'm breaking it down, click and subscribe. 3DP UK, where the vision's